Hi, this is Jenny at Building Boys. I just wanted to pop on and say welcome to all of you who have joined us recently. We have had so many people join from so many parts of the world, and I'm thrilled that we're finding each other in community here. And I have to say, as I was reading through your intros, telling me about yourselves, your boys, and your life, one thing stood out to me, and that is so many of us are dealing with bickering at home. If you have boys, you have bickering. I'm sure that that's also true for girls. I did not grow up in an all-girl household, but I am positive that bickering affects girl houses too. However, there really seems to be something about having boys in the house, especially multiple boys, that leads to this antagonism and fighting and knowing how to push each other's buttons that really tends to drive us moms in particular crazy. As I was going through your responses, one of you said, I think it was Anne, who has two boys, ages 19 and 15, said the hardest thing I find to deal with is the antagonism between them. Boy, oh boy, can I relate to that. I have gone through periods where there has been such intense antagonism between, usually it's a kid around the age of 15, between 15 and 17, and his younger brothers, and it can be to the point where the little one can say absolutely nothing that will go over okay with the older one. And boys can be so good at finding and pushing those buttons. I know, Leanne, you shared that you have 4 boys, ages 13, 10, 7, and 3. And you said, too, that the most challenging part for you is the fighting and the bickering. So I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you. First of all, number one, some insight into boys and bickering. For whatever reason, dominance is an issue in boy world. Boys and men are constantly jostling for position. Watch any group, any age of boys and men, and you can usually see some of that jockeying, trying to figure out who's on top, who has the power within this group. If you don't see it, sometimes it's because that dynamic has already been established. I like to watch a lot of nature documentaries also. If it helps you, picture the lion cubs or the baby bears kind of wrestling and tumbling all over each other. I see a lot of that in my boys. It's the same thing. They use each other in the same ways those lion siblings or bear siblings do. They test out their strength. They test out their limits. They test out their verbal sparring skills against each other at home. It is not always fun for me to watch. It is rarely fun for me to watch or to hear, but they are doing something that is important to them. Now, does that mean that we should put up with or tolerate, mean words from one brother to another or really harmful things? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just trying to help you understand a little bit of the dynamic and why this seems so prevalent. And we could get into whether that is biological or sociological or a combination of both. And in the end, the why doesn't particularly matter when the boys are fighting in the living room, right? They're doing what they're doing. It just helps you to understand. So some tips for dealing with it. Tip number 1, back off if you can. And I know it can be hard. I know it can be hard to hear your boys going on and not respond, especially when you are trying to teach respect and respectful communication. But if you can, sometimes the bickering settles down a whole lot sooner than if you get involved. And I learned that a combination of between the hard way and through just pure exhaustion on my part. I just gradually over time observed that when I would intervene with something as simple as, hey, knock it off, stop saying that to your brother, it was almost like adding fuel to the fire. Sometimes if I pretend I don't hear, or if I am too tired to intervene, it diffuses more quickly. And as much as we don't want any of our sons to be subject to, being picked on by an older brother or a younger brother for that matter, They're also learning to take it. They're learning how to not overreact. Oh my gosh, our boys, so often they're looking for reaction from each other, right? So over time, they develop that skill of when to react and when it doesn't require reaction. So my tips to you today, when your boys start bickering and fighting, number one, try and hold your breath for a little bit, tune it out, and don't intervene right away. Secondly, just sort of keep your ear on things from a distance. If there are some really harmful things going on or things that are very concerning to you, your better bet is to deal with those in private with that particular boy, rather than dealing with it in the heat of the moment. You're not going to get very far. Tip number 3, remember that we are all here for you. We are all dealing with this in our own homes, and there is no quick do this and the bickering in your house will end. It is a process, and it will occur over a number of years. Your guys are going to figure out how to get along, and eventually, someday, you may all be sitting around your table talking and having a great time. Here's to building boys.